This month marks 64 years since the birth control pill was approved in Canada. The pill ushered in an era that changed the status of women's rights and the liberation movement. It also gave women the ultimate control over their bodies and the ability to avoid unwanted pregnancy. But there's been a recent shift in the perception of contraceptives, especially among young women. Author and filmmaker Kate Muir has written extensively on the pill's backlash. Here's her conversation with Travis Danraj.
Filmmaker and writer Kate Muir joins me now from London, England. Kate, thanks so much for being here on Canada Tonight.
Thank you.
When the birth control pill first became available in 1960, it was hailed as this fantastic drug that gave women control over their bodies. But that perception, that narrative has changed somewhat in recent years. I wonder if you can tell me about that shift.
Well, it's happening across the world. It's happening in America, in Canada, and in the UK. And we're seeing women turning away from hormonal birth control, most specifically the pill. And certainly in Britain in the last 10 years, pill use has gone down by half, which is a huge amount. And we're seeing a new young generation of women who are interested in natural birth control. And that sometimes can mean using apps. Which is quite risky.
Yeah, what is natural birth control?
Well, there's a sort of fashionable term going around called green sex. And by that we mean using, say, the Natural Cycles app or one of the fertility awareness apps that are available. 3 million people have downloaded the Natural Cycles app. And basically they put in their temperature every day, early in the morning, exactly the same time, and then they look at the days of their cycle, if it's a 28-day or a 31-day cycle, and then they get green days or red days, depending on what they should do, and shows their fertility. And of course, if you have a regular cycle and a regular life and you never wake up late or hungover, then you'd be just fine doing that probably. And it has about a 98% success rate if you are well organized.
Right.
If you're a normal human being, 7% failure rate. And that's what the manufacturers say. And in fact, it's probably more than that, given, you know, the chaos that we all live in. So it's not really an alternative to safe contraception. But there's just been this powerful movement, and a lot of it is among younger women on TikTok and Instagram.
Welcome to Battle of the Birth Controls, where I explain your birth control method because your doctor probably didn't.
Birth control did this to my skin.
I called out my gynecologist for lying to me after I learned about all of the side effects of birth control.
I had the worst experience on this type of birth control, and I'm just going to tell you what horrific things happened to me.
And there's a conversation that's never been had before happening about the pill and about side effects.
Well, it's interesting because there are, younger women on my team, and I did not know about this trend on TikTok. They were been telling me all about it. Why do you think we are seeing this trend emerge?
Well, I think it's partly that young women's needs have been neglected. In fact, women's needs have been neglected in health. And of course, the pill, absolutely fantastic, a really safe option. But so many women got side effects on it. And those side effects were largely ignored or passed over. And one of the things we did in England is we made a big documentary called Pill Revolution. And we interviewed 4,000 women, diverse women across the country, about what they were thinking about their side effects on the pill.
A lot of the time, you're just told to wait it out. I had awful side effects for a year and I didn't feel listened to.
And what we found was that 77% said they'd had side effects. Now, they're not necessarily disastrous like clots or something. These are minor side effects, but goodness me, they are hard to live with. And we found that 37% said they'd put on weight. This is their perception. 36% had low mood, anxiety or depression on the pill. 26% had headaches and 21% had low libido. Now that's a lot of bother, isn't it? You're a perfectly healthy person and you've got to take a drug that makes you feel a bit rotten some of the time. And I think the new generation are saying, why are we doing this? And why aren't men doing it?
Yeah, that is a good question. Going back to what you were saying about social media, and this, becoming a conversation that younger women are having right now on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, etc. Are we seeing misinformation, disinformation out there?
Massively so, and massive exaggeration too. People have analysed this here, and we're looking at maybe 1 in 5 medical posts being wrong. And of course, young women, they're not going to put in a complaint, to TikTok or to Facebook or wherever it is, to say, oh, this was medically incorrect. And the problem is, you're trusting someone on there who's an influencer who says, here are the 5 best retinol-based skin creams, and they'll probably get that right, and you think, well, they're reliable, they've worked that out, and now they've told me they're going on the Natural Cycles app and it's really worked for them, or they're telling me that if I take the pill, I'll be infertile, and that's completely incorrect. But it's the sort of thing that gets said. And there's also behind some of this, and this is only a tiny bit, but there's a political movement as well, particularly in America, because of the anti-abortion movement running at this moment. And there's also an anti-contraception movement coming through, which is quite frightening, because this amount of disinformation is going into young women. And certainly, I've been tracking this in the UK, and we have the highest abortion rate we've ever had in the UK since it was legalized in 1967. And that's not a great method of contraception. Abortion, absolutely fine. But, as a method of contraception, we should have something better. And I'm hoping there's going to be better with the new advances in male contraception, actually.
It's interesting, you talk about that, how some of this information that is out there is politically motivated and perhaps organized. Is there, with so many young women looking to social media, getting their information from social media, is there a need for more reliable sources of information for public health campaigns to inform women about the realities of these medications?
I think you're absolutely right. I think TikTok has become this consulting room, without the white coats. And that is absolutely wrong. And that is one of the reasons I wrote this book, Everything You Need to Know About the Pill, because I thought this trend is already happening. We're not causing it, we're just watching it. And women need to know why this pill might work for them, why that pill might not work for them, and that, for instance, there's a new generation of pills with body-identical estrogen in them, which are often much better tolerated, particularly in terms of mental health. So really, we need doctors to be more honest with us and spend more time with us. Because you go in and get the pill when you're 16 and you want it in 5 minutes, and actually you need to spend time and say, do I want the pill? Do I want the coil? What is my option? It's a big life decision, which young women are making quite often at school. And we've got to acknowledge that. And I think it's really important to give people the counselling they deserve and acknowledge their symptoms, and don't gaslight them, and say, yes, I am listening, and yes, we will try and make some changes. And I think it's just hard to get that kind of attention in the medical system.
I've certainly learned a lot in this short conversation that we have, and I know that, that is your goal, to educate young women. We appreciate you coming on Canada Tonight this evening. That is Kate Muir from London, England.
Thank you.